Greetings. This is the 6th episode of Unlicensed Therapists, a platform where we dissect the human experience in the 21st century and explore how we think, how we relate, and how we believe. May Salam is from Gaza and recently arrived in Canada. Her family is still trapped in Gaza, where their home has been destroyed, and her brother is badly injured from the relentless bombing. May has not had any contact with her family since the last 3 weeks and has also been unable to send money back to her family, which we'll talk about as well. But stay right there as we get started. As always, if you're watching this, if you're watching us on YouTube, please take a quick second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can be informed when we have future episodes. If you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other streaming platform, please give us a rating. All of this helps get this show in front of more people, and I really, really appreciate your support. You can follow us on Instagram at Unlicensed Therapist Podcast for all information, clips, and upcoming shows. May Salam, welcome. It's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I want to just get right into it. So first of all, how are you? Your family is trapped in Gaza in the middle of one of the worst wars that it has ever seen. The area, Gaza's pretty much been leveled from what we're seeing. How are they doing? And when is the last time you spoke to them? And what did you talk about?
Well, I've been better, I guess. Well, I haven't heard from my family for the past 3 weeks. I lost connection because the cellular network and internet is down because of the direct targeting from the Israeli forces on the infrastructure over there, and like it is a total blockage,
Mm-hmm.
So the last time I've heard from them is that they told me that our house was bombed to nothing. My brother was severely injured. He's about to lose his legs if he couldn't access the urgent medical care that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
I was also told that they left the destroyed house and they moved to a tent on the street, but I haven't heard from them honestly since then. I'm trying to get in touch with them indirectly. I'm trying everything, but I wasn't lucky. I am not lucky up until now, so just waiting around for news.
Yeah, and so what have they told you has been happening there? So you're not there right now. You're not with them, but can you tell us about what they have been through since the start of the war? We'll also get into, I know that you have a GoFundMe page set up to help them, because I think it's escaping Gaza right now is also very difficult, like you said, and if you can go into that detail. But first of all, what have they been through since the start of the war? What do you know from there?
Right, it started from our house, which is located in the north. We were forced to first evacuate the north. After the evacuation of our house, our tower, or our whole apartment building, was flattened to the ground. The Israeli ground invasion happened in the north first. They cleaned the area with a lot of kills, with a lot of damages and destruction. My family evacuated to the south as it was promoted as a safe place for civilians in the first weeks of this war.
Mm-hmm.
And later in the south, they started bombing the south itself. My family again had to evacuate for the second time because the shelter they seek was bombed again.
Mm-hmm.
In a third evacuation attempt, they just went to a tent on the street, and that is because we couldn't afford to rent a place, and there's no any spots. It was like everything is already occupied because of the people who evacuated. There's no much places, and I couldn't provide for them at that time. I couldn't send them or get them funds inside Gaza because of the block on funds being sent there. So it has been a nightmare for them, I guess. Like, my sister almost lost hope in surviving this. She has sent me a lot of messages that are like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I'm hopeless. So like, I don't know how to help, and that's that, I guess.
Yeah, and you were saying that I remember you told us earlier that to escape through the southern border, right? It used to there's a fee that you have to pay or a toll that you have to pay to cross that. So can you talk about how much that used to be and how much it is now?
So if they were in the south, and that means they are on Rafah border, near to Rafah border, where they can, on walking distance, cross to Egypt. There is a gate, it's called Rafah Border Gate. The fee for crossing this gate was, before the war, it was just 300 USD. After the war, and currently during this war, it's up to 10K.
So
And
10,000 US dollars.
yeah, 10,000 US dollars. And they still say this is the ticket fees, nothing more. This is not a bribe or anything. So,
And this is per person.
of course, per head count, they call it. They don't consider us human being.
And who do you pay this toll to?
Well, it has to go to the Egyptian authorities, the people who are maintaining the borders.
Hmm. So there, yeah, and so that's another thing. Like, so Egypt does control the southern
Of
border.
course, Egypt does have a full control over the southern border, and in order to cross or to evacuate Gaza from Egypt's side, then you need to pay them, and that is how it's being done.
Right. And so there is and then also medical supplies, water, food.
They are
What?
also pending on the southern border until they could pay these fees to enter to Gaza. And a lot of them enter to Gaza, but like they are being sold to the merchants. And the merchants, we call them war merchants. They just keep this kind of stuff and sell it at overpriced, skyrocketing prices. So this is why people are actually dying out of
Wow.
being just hungry or cold.
So you're saying that the aid that does come in, even if when it is allowed through the southern border, then once it comes in, there are people who sort of get those materials and then sell them to the civilians
Right. That's how it is
for
being
high
done.
prices.
I haven't, like my family haven't had received any aids at all. They haven't received any help or whatsoever from these aids. Even though we are civilians, we live in a tent in the street. I have an injured brother who is about to have his leg amputated. We haven't received any aids yet. So tell me why. Where are they? They are being sold.
Mhm. Yeah. So even if it's coming in, it's being sold. So you have set up a GoFundMe page to help, so you can support them, right? So let's talk about that right now. If you can talk about it right now, and then we'll also remind viewers of it later for anybody who wants to who's able to help.
Well, I found myself at a position where I can't help, but I want to help, and that is the only thing I could, which is raise funds or like help them financially, because they don't get aids or anything to survive, and they have to because they live in the tent and it's very cold and chilly over there. So I launched this campaign to try to raise some funds to help them out, and I came up with a system to send the money indirectly to them, and
Mhm.
it has been working because I have been working double shifts myself every day and even over the weekends in order to provide for like six family members. And yes, whatever I get, whatever I could save, I send it to them. And that is how it's being done for the meantime. if I want to evacuate them, if I want to help my brother to access a medical care, urgent one, then I need more funds that I can afford for the meantime.
Mhm.
Hence, I decided to go with the GoFundMe option. It's a humiliating for me. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of feelings about it, but you do what you have to do. I think they deserve a chance to live. So I'm not gonna stop now.
I don't think there's anybody who is in your position who would think otherwise. I think that this is yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to do anything you can. I mean, you're not with your family, you're not able to communicate with them. They need medical attention. Um, Everybody on all sides is kind of targeting them. They're having to pay money, and they can't even access the aid that is coming in to Gaza. So I don't think that there's anybody in your position that would do otherwise. So we'll do this. If you want to help May and help her family, the link to the GoFundMe will be in the description of this, so you can go directly to the link. And every little amount that you can spend will help. Everything adds up. So I wanted to kind of backtrack a little bit and have sort of get to know you better. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Were you born and raised in Gaza? What was it like there for growing up, especially for children? I know half of the population of Gaza is children. So what was it like growing up there?
Well, I was born and raised in Gaza, specifically in a refugee camp where you don't get to access a lot of things, a lot of basic things to survive. More
Yeah.
often, food, clean water, sometimes fuel, electricity, all of the time. It's just out. There's a lot of struggle over there. It was like a big prison where you are not able to move or travel or have a freedom of speech of your own. You are being monitored from every little side, skies, sea, on ground, everywhere you are being monitored. And it was not the best experience, I would say. Is something I don't like to remember.
Mhm.
For me, like, I lived there up until my college, and then later I moved abroad to study.
Mhm.
Hence why I was able to make it to Canada.
Yeah.
That is a little bit challenging for me, like, because I'm dealing with a survivor's guilt right now, despite the fact that I have lived through the previous four or fifth wars. I was there with my family. I think I was a little bit more comfortable, maybe not comfortable at all. I don't know if it's right to say comfortable, but like I wasn't worse than this because I was there with them. If we die together.
Mhm.
That was something. But now I would be the only survivor, and this is just hard to live with, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that must be. I saw this. I think an interview of there's a doctor who also lives in Canada. He's from
Right.
Gaza, and his I think he had the same kind of thing. Lost a lot of members of his family, including his children. And he's just probably one of the bravest people I've seen. And I don't even know. Yeah, I can't imagine what that would be like. Um, to go through that. You have seen I don't know if you watched some of the coverage that's coming out of it. You know, we're seeing it on Instagram, we're seeing it on TikTok, just really, really horrific and graphic scenes of what's happening in Gaza. And so I see this. I have a 7-year-old daughter, right? And I don't even tell her about what's going on because I want to protect her from it. She's not even allowed to see these things in an animated way, nothing. And these are real things that are happening to children like her. And for me, I mean, this is just as an outsider watching it, it's just there's a part of your soul that just gets destroyed, right? When you see these things, for you, these are your people. I mean, these are the kids, the people that you grew up with? Do you watch that coverage? Do you follow it? And what goes to your mind?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of avoiding this content. It's just because I have to keep an eye for it to track any information about my family, because any minute they could be the next people on the list. So
Mhm.
I usually keep track of this content because I want to make sure that my brother is not the one victim, or like killed, or whatever they've done with their bodies. I have to watch all the content of the guys, like where they prison all the guys, they humiliate them, they let them take off their clothes, and I mean, whatever they did to them. I was watching carefully to check whether my brothers and my father are within this group or not.
Yeah.
Most like, yeah, often I have to check who is the family being targeted. Is it my family or not? Because usually they announce the names, like the family name, hey, family number, blah blah blah, family was hit, targeted, there are like 15 martyrs or killed. So yeah, I didn't have the luxury of avoiding this content, and it's haunting me. It's like a nightmare. I don't sleep well, I don't eat well, I don't even see people. I'm just pouring myself on the job and trying to distract myself, keep myself sane. But yeah, this is how it is, I guess. My coping mechanisms for the meantime.
Yeah, and I didn't think of that. I mean, that, for many of us, when we're watching this content, we're seeing what's happening. We can go from one clip to the next, knowing that, okay, whatever we see will be terrible, but the idea that when you're going through it, you might see someone in your own family and you have to monitor it to see that. I mean, that's just yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. So,
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't get a call that, hey, your brother is dead. Just, we don't have connections, so I have to have access to this content.
yeah. I wanted to move to and we'll get back to this and talk about it a little bit more. But right now, as you know, the whole world is just focused on this current war that's happening between Israel and Gaza and Hamas specifically. And this is, in the last 15 years, it's the fifth war that's happened. So for the vast majority of people around the world, everybody has a commentary, everybody has opinions on this issue, including me. But we don't have personal stakes in this war. For you, obviously, the politics of this are also very, very personal and very painfully so. So, can you talk about that a bit? The importance of the political situation and how you see that. What are some of your biggest frustrations and your biggest concerns with the way that everybody is looking at this situation?
Well, well, you're right. Politics actually is not my jam. It's not even my family's, for that matter. But yeah, it has a direct impact on my life, in my personal life, and there's no way to avoid it. I honestly hate the fact that this has been going on for over 70 years, the Israeli occupation on our land. I actually hate the fact that I was raised in a refugee camp that lacks all sorts of basic things to survive. I actually hate the fact that within 15 years, I had to survive at least 5 wars, deadly ones. And what kills me, like what bothers me, is that after all of this, I still have to stand up right now, right here, explaining to the people that I'm the victim and they are the oppressor. This is just something painful. Like, people are like brainwashed, and they had the audacity, they still have the audacity to come after you, telling you that we are brainwashed. Who is the brainwashed person? We are the victims. Can't you see us bleeding? Can't you see? How is this brainwashing? I don't understand. That is how I feel about the Israeli situation and their reputation and how people view them outside Palestine. It just, you guys are not living there. You guys know nothing. Like, what are you saying? That is a part of it. The other side of it, like in a more internal side, I disapprove of what Hamas did. Although this hasn't started on the 7th of October, it has been going on for ages. The war, killing, evacuating us, ethnic cleansing, it has been there for ages, yes. But like, I hate what Hamas did on the 7th of October because it shows a lot about their priorities list. It shows a lot. It tells us that civilians, including my family, weren't on their list. If you are willingly going to get involved in such a thing, if you know what you're getting yourself into, then shouldn't you just equip at least a civilian with a sufficient amount of food, fuel, or basic things to survive while they are trapped in a thing that they had nothing to do with? We weren't involved in the decision making process. We weren't a part of this. We are not a part of the choice. There was no democratic choice. They ruled us by force, and that's that. So why should we pay the price right now? Why am I the one who is dealing with the consequences? I don't understand.
Right. And half of the population of Gaza was born after the 2006 elections when Hamas actually came to power. So half of the population is born. So this idea that everybody there supports them and they were democratically elected, like, I mean, it doesn't.
Sorry,
Yeah.
this is crazy. Where they come? I mean, where is this coming from? Were they there? Is there any statics? Is there any facts? Like, is this based on facts that everybody is supporting them? Okay, I'm from Gaza. I lived there my whole life. My family is still trapped there, but we don't support them. We have nothing to do with politics. In fact, we were totally isolated. We were not allowed to interact with any of these fundamental mindsets. What are you talking about? Can't you see how do I look? Can you see my brothers, my sister? No, we don't have a choice on this. We were forced into this. They took the rule by force, and that's that. You cannot have us blamed. And even if we want to fight the change, we are not backed up with a government. We are not backed up with resources. We don't have employment. We don't have money. We don't have basic things to live. We are occupied all over this tribe, Gaza Strip. So what are you thinking? How are we going to fight this as civilians? No, we're not armed. So that's that.
Yeah. And that's what is it about? What is, if there's something, and you've said some of it, that you would like the rest of the world to understand about, what do you think some of the biggest, maybe the 2 or 3 misconceptions or misunderstandings that people around the world have about the people of Gaza or the people that you grew up with?
Well, first, civilians has nothing to do with this, and you should all believe that. It's obvious, and any smart or intelligent person could easily figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with this. We're just trapped in the middle between deadliest parties. I guess we're just here. Second of all, there is what's so-called Palestinian Authority in Ramallah. These people do not represent us, and they are profiting out of the situation. They're just collecting donation and stuff on our behalf, but we don't access these funds actually. So that's the one thing I needed to call out.
There's the funding that does come in, because there is a lot of, with every, just as a matter of historical record, with every war that has happened in Gaza in the last 15 years, Hamas has received more donation and more funding after every war. So in a sense, they do benefit financially, from the wars. They do have underground bunkers and they have tunnels for their members. Civilians are, as far as we know, civilians are not allowed access to them.
We don't know where they are. This
Yeah.
is top secret thingy, and we have no clue where they are existing or where they're operating. They don't allow this kind of information. This is top secret missions.
So
And
they.
if they were like outsourced, then they will kill the person. A lot of Palestinian youth or like guys were killed out of nothing. They were just killed. This is because they obtained an information or like a secret information about these kind of things.
Mhm.
These things are being run in secretly, super secretive.
Yeah.
Something.
But I mean, the thing is, they do cost money to build, and then this money could have gone again. This money is being taken away. You have people selling you food and medicine and water at inflated prices, right? People sort of gouging that, and then you have the Palestinian Authority that's essentially taking up those funds, and then you have Israel that is admittedly, I mean, the U.S. The United States officially came out and talked about how the bombing is indiscriminate. And indiscriminate bombing is a war crime. And the United States have said it themselves recently that a lot of these bombs they're indiscriminate, they're untargeted. So there is this sense that what Israel is, looking at this idea that Hamas uses civilians as human shields, um, and they're also kind of using that almost as a sometimes in from what I've seen, they're almost seeing it as an excuse to justify indiscriminate bombing.
Right.
But,
That's exactly how it is.
right. And so
Both sides are like using the facts on the way it suits them, the way it suits their story. So whatever rock their boats, then they just go with it, and we're just still trapped in the middle.
and you're stuck in the middle, and you have to go and see if your family shows up in those videos because of this this thing. So everybody is. Are there any? So are there? Is there any good side to this? Like when you're there, where the way that you've grown up now, you grew up essentially most of your life in this situation, right? Is there you were able to? I think you're probably one of the few people who was able to get out of Gaza and be able to go and study abroad. Is that a typical situation? What were some of the obstacles that you faced in doing that? Is that an opportunity that people there often have, or are you sort of extra fortunate to be able to do that?
No, you have to be really, really extra fortunate to be able to do that. And it comes once in a life opportunity. Mm, Crossing the borders itself costs a lot, as I mentioned. This is the first thing. Second thing, actually, the fact that you are from Gaza, you have a Palestinian passport, makes it even more difficult to obtain a visa to anybody, literally anybody, including the Arab countries themselves. It's unlikely for a Palestinian person to obtain a visa normally to travel around the world. Like, you have to start building for that, do a lot of things, a lot of work to make your profile or file stronger, to even acquire a visa to anybody. So yeah, that's not a thing. That is not a typical thing. Nobody, almost not everyone can access it. I was fortunate because of my family support. This is why I'm raising these funds. It's just because I'm trying to pay back. They believed in me. They saw something, and they just like gambled on me with whatever they had, whatever resources, whatever they can afford. They put it all on me. So yeah, until I was able to go out.
Mm-hmm. And you decided to, so you went to you decided to pursue law, right, as a career.
Yeah, I first was admitted into medical school, and I left that to pursue law.
That's a good decision to leave medical school.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but like
Yeah.
back in the days, I had hope and ambition to pursue international law. I thought it was something really, really cool, and I think now by the years, I got to learn that international law has no actual value or impact on things around the world. It's still politics. It still goes according to the country's agendas. So it was certainly no value for me to pursue international law itself. So
Hmm.
that's
Yeah,
it.
and so, and what, so at this point, are you still pursuing that, or what are you, what are you planning, or how did like the way that you grew up, how did that influence your career decision?
Well, my mother herself is a career-oriented person. She has been a doctor for the UNRWA, the United Nations, for ages before she got retired.
Right.
And I was raised in a like liberal family where they believe in you as a person. They would support you with wherever you see fit to your own life. I was given the freedom or like the choice. I was given the choice, even though there was nothing much of a choice in Gaza, but like within our house with my parents, there was a choice, and they gave it to me. They were just believing on me. They said that whatever it is you want to do, you should go pursue it, have it, achieve it. So yeah, I grew up in this supportive environment, and I today I'm already trained for a lawyer, like, but a financial lawyer. I'm pursuing a financial lawyer career right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
All of this is just because of my parents, and I would pay anything to just switch places with them. I
Yeah.
think by now I've seen a lot, or like I've seen enough. I would say I'm just 26 years old, but like I've seen enough of this word, and I don't mind switching places for them, to give them the opportunity to see the world, like the real world outside the prison, outside Gaza.
Have they been outside as well? The world, have they been able to travel, or?
Only Egypt. That we cannot go any farther than Egypt.
Hmm. That's,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so you said earlier about, Hamas and their priority list. Do you think Hamas cares about its people? And if not, what is driving them to do what they do? Like, what they did on October 7th, they knew what it was going to bring upon them. Like you said, they didn't warn the civilians, they didn't tell anybody, they didn't prepare for anything. They just kind of threw you into the fire, quite literally. Um, what is it that their goal is? If they don't care about their people, what is it that they want to do?
I would say they are resisting. They
Mhm.
are still resisting the occupation, whether people like it or not. This is still called occupation from an apartheid country, right? So I think their agenda was mainly focused on resisting the occupation and taking back the land by force.
Right.
Now that I don't have a say on this, but I have a say on the fact that you don't get to choose whether my family lives or dies. You don't get to choose to sacrifice my family, throw us under the train for your own agenda or for whatever it is you're seeking. Okay, we were never consulted, and we don't want to die for the land. It's your own goal, it's your own life, whatever it is, resolution, but we don't want to die. It's not worth it. We are being stuck here for nothing. What have we ever gained out of this? Tell me. Nothing. Nothing. We're being Palestinian for what?
Yeah.
All what we ever had was just, we were just being fought from literally everyone. Everyone has walked all over us, and there's no gain, no profits, no nothing for us. So it become painful to be Palestinian. It become painful to resist the occupation, the oppressor. it become painful. And at some certain, like at some point, you just choose your family. When you are, when you are like, either you lose your family or the land or the country, I would always choose my family over anything.
Mhm.
I wouldn't give up my family for the country or the land. I'm sorry to say that, but no, my family comes first. And this is what I hoped that Hamas would understand. You don't get to sacrifice us. And because they know if we actually knew about this, we wouldn't allow it to happen. We wouldn't just shut up. Nobody wants to willingly give away their families for the sake of anything, literally anything. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's my opinion.
Right. And so, but in terms of resistance, and resisting the, well, whatever we want to call it, the West Bank is occupied. There's an embargo on Gaza still around it. Even though there's no official occupation, they had that whole thing that happened in 2005, but then they did put an embargo and a blockade on everything. So that's why it quite literally is an open air prison. But what is the way that they went about it, like with everything that they did on October 7th, and it's which was also, yeah, I know, and we can have a whole other conversation about that.
Right?
It,
Right?
yeah, it was just that was, it was horrific. So at least from what I've seen, if you were leading, like, as a, you're doing law now. So if you're sort of leading a negotiating party and you want to talk to the Israelis, how would you go about it? Or is it even possible, or is it there just too much
No.
animosity between the two now?
Well, there is no chance like to talk to them because or to negotiate with the Israelis because they keep things pending for years. They
Mhm.
don't want to resolve this. They don't want to lose anything in exchange. They want the whole cake. They want the whole piece, and they don't want to share. That's the thing. You come to my land, you kick me out of it, and now you want me out of the whole area. They just want us to evacuate and migrate, seek asylum any other country, and that's that.
Well, what of the? I mean, there are ministers in Israel who actually came out and said that the goal is to drive everybody in Gaza out into the Sinai. There's extremists on that side that are also just completely nonsensical in the sense that if the Gazan people, if they came out and they were driven out of their land into the Sinai, then they have access to the water, and then it doesn't make any sense. I mean, they would actually be able to do what they want even more freely.
Like
So
what happened on the 7th of October, it is important, like a critical key information here is that some or a big part of the killed people in the Israeli part were by their own forces. Okay, and they also counted the Palestinian fighters with the total amount.
mhm.
So the thing is, Israel was aware of this attack because it was outsourced somehow, but they neglected it. They just underestimated Hamas, and somehow I don't have the expertise to talk about this. I am not a political or analyst or anything like that, but this has been documented somewhere in and I've read it. But yeah,
Yeah, there have been a lot of reports. The numbers are all
Israeli
over the place. I've seen that there were some of them that were done. Like there were, I think, a few. That there were some places that say there were just 4 Israelis that were killed by the Israeli army. Others, they say that there were more. And this is one of the biggest problems. I think that I had Corey Gilschuster on before this episode, and we were talking about how the numbers, in Israel, when you tell them that 30,000 people have died in Gaza, they're like, we don't believe those numbers. And then
right.
you tell them, well, there's these numbers that are happening on the Israeli side, and where are you getting them from? They're coming from the IDF, and like, well, we don't believe those numbers. And there's when you have two different versions of the truth, um, no one has a way of really knowing things. It's and there's no, when you have if you and I are going to have a conversation, we have to have a common sort of foundation, a premise that we agree on in order to be able to do it. I'm sure you know this, being in law, as a lawyer, but when your fundamental premises are completely different, it's just having a conversation just becomes impossible. And I think that one of the things that I am learning a lot about speaking to you is this idea that we can have all of these conversations about numbers and this happened, that happened, but ultimately when it affects you personally, one question that I had for you was that I grew up in Saudi Arabia, so I also grew up in the Middle East, and there is a disdain for Palestinians. I mean, the rest of the Arab world just looks at the Palestinians almost like a they all say that they talk about the Palestinian cause and how they care about it, but ultimately they just have this. They're anti-Israel. The Palestinians, they kind of use them as pawns, as a way to kind of justify their opposition to Israel. How do you feel about the way that the other Arab world and other Arab states that surround Palestine, how they have been dealing with this conflict?
Arabs turned out to be a big disappointment, honestly speaking. I think a lot of Palestinians were counting on them for some reason, even though they never actually hopped in to help or jump in to mediate or anything. But like, personally, myself, I never was trained to count on people or like expect a lot from people. And I was raised in an environment where we were told that we're not connected to Arabs. We are different than them. And that's that. I believe is still in that. And it was proved. Ultimately, it is proved. It's right. Nobody had to help. Nobody raised a stake. Nobody done anything at all. They were just there watching, even in a smaller level, like an hour level, while I was promoting my family campaign. Ultimately, most of the people who helped were people from the Western side or people non-Arabs. Okay, this is what I'm trying to say. Even though I made sure to raise it to Arabs and to touch their Palestinian on Arab side or anything like this, but nobody had to help.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just claim they like Palestine. They just like the publicity of supporting Palestine. Most of them use this as a promoter for their social media contents or stuff like that. But when I reach each one of these influencers or people in the Arab side, like, hey, can you help? Hey, do this, that. Nobody.
Did they help promote your page or anything like that?
Not donating, not even responding to anything, and also in nothing.
Even with the southern border, the aid going in, most of that aid has come from again, Western places, and they're not. And it's being so with Egypt as an example, right? Egypt works with Israel to sort of enforce the southern border of Gaza, and like you said, rather than helping or donating or sending aid, they're actually asking. I just want to say this again, for $10,000 per person to be able to cross the Rafah crossing and go into Egypt and escape Gaza. So these are people who, where their medicine, their food, their water, everything is restricted. And on top of that, right, the aid that's going in is being sold to them. And they're also asking $10,000 per person, just USD, to come out of Gaza, to escape Gaza. I think that's astounding.
That's right, but
Tells you everything.
I think it's important to note here that the people are not represented by their governments.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of good friends in Egypt, and it wasn't easy for me to help my family or send a lot of funds at the beginning of this war without my Egyptian friends, actually. So how I see it is that a lot of them donated and everything, but how the donation is supposed to be delivered to Gaza, this is where the drama happened. This is where the Egyptian government or authorities or whoever is responsible made the profits out of it, I think. But like
Mhm.
individuals, the people, I know a lot of them have been mostly supportive
Yeah.
and they helped. I
Yeah.
can like unrecognize this.
There's a, and I'll tell you this. I mean, when it comes to the people, this is the biggest problem when people talk about the two sides. Which side are you on? Is it, Jill? I always say that, as far as the two sides go, I think that there are the people who are caught in the crossfire everywhere, throughout the region, and then there's the terrible leadership. That's the other side, and I think it should be obvious what side you're on. I mean, I have here a lot of the aid that's going to Gaza. A lot of it is coming from actually Jewish groups in the United States.
Right.
There's a lot of Jewish humanitarian groups in the United States who are appalled by the. I mean, well, the Netanyahu government doesn't have a whole lot of support among Israelis, like Jewish people in Israel either. But especially in Canada and the U.S., there's been a tremendous amount of support for and just outrage at what Israel has been, the way that they've been conducting this operation, this response, to October 7th. So people everywhere, people have hearts, and people relate to other people, and they have compassion on a regular level. But it really is a lot of times the leadership and the politicians, as always.
Yeah, and this is what I meant, because like one of my good friends here in Canada is actually Jewish, and he is mostly supportive and helpful. Like, yeah, Alex has helped a lot with my family crisis, and he's Jewish, so I never thought about it as where you're coming from or what religion you believe to or you belong to. It's never about this. It's never like this, actually. I just see people for who they are, what they're doing, their actions, and their impact on my life. And that's that.
So, do you think that, and again, you don't have to speak about yourself or anything, but do you think in general, seeing the sort of like the Islamist side of Hamas and the fact that they use the religion, right, as a tool to go about and justify what they do you think that is turning off people?
I think that is a part of it, yes, because Hamas had a huge impact on the turn down from Islam in, for example, Gaza or Palestine, at least. This is how I see it. A lot of people driven away from Islam or whatever religion, and they just wanted to have nothing to do with that because of that publicity.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of ideas on this. Like, I'm not really well knowledgeable in this.
Mm-hmm.
On a personal level, I was just a human being who's just ambitious, and I was just pursuing my own life. I just wanted to explore the life for what it is. I didn't want somebody to think on my behalf. I didn't want somebody to decide for me. I wanted to have my decision, my choice. And that's that. I'm living my life the way it is. I don't have anything to hide. I'm just a human being, normal. I'm just, okay, I wouldn't actually be ashamed of where I come from. I'm a Palestinian from Gaza, and I have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
But you can't stereotype me or she's Muslim, she's fundamental, she's that. I actually never encountered these kind of occurrences because the people I have been with were open-minded. They were from Europeans and also North Americans, a lot of them. So I don't think I was discriminated against. I think I felt included.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So but for people who do want to kind of say what they want, live the way that they want, again, there are a lot of sort of young people that have been punished for, I guess, living the way that they want to, right, by the government.
Of course, this is a fundamental government who is following Sharia law, so you don't get much of a say over there. It's if you have these kind of ideas, you would need to hide them or like not have them in the open,
Mhm.
sake of saving your life or surviving. So yeah.
It's it's a tough one. Like you said, I mean, you're going to. This is the thing right now. People, you just have a conversation about this, and you're someone who's actually from the region, and you've talked about so many things, and people are going to try to pin you down. Like, okay, well, is she pro this? Is she pro that? Is she
I'm not pro
anti-Semitic?
anything. I'm
Homophobic?
not pro anything. I'm just
Just
a human being who I just want my family to live. Literally, this is why I'm seeking to evacuate them, because once they're out, I'm never gonna want to have anything to do with that part of the world,
Mhm.
and my family too. So this is why
Yeah.
I'm just a human being, I guess.
Yeah. I have one more question about you, and this is a group of people that we haven't really heard a lot from, even though I have talked to some of them in the past. And these are the 20% of the 1/5 of Israel's population, Israeli citizens who are Arab or Palestinian. They even have relatives in Gaza. They have relatives in the West Bank. They're connected, who it's a lot of cases they haven't seen for years and years. And they are very I just haven't been hearing much from them in for understandable reasons. I mean, they're obviously in a very, very tough spot in terms of what they can speak about and what they want to say. But have you had contact with Israeli Arabs or Israeli Palestinians? And do you
Yeah.
have an idea of and if you have, then do you have an idea of how they are processing everything that's going on and how they're feeling about it?
Yeah, I've actually had a conversation with an Arab Israeli friend like last week. We
Mhm.
met here in Toronto, so they are 100% supportive of what is going on of Palestinian in Gaza. This is what I mean, because they belong to the Palestinian case in general, okay? They are still identified as Palestinians, and the struggle is one. Yes, it's in different shapes, but we still struggle from the occupation. It is important to know that within the Israeli government or like the Israeli territories, they are considered a third world citizens. They don't have much privileges. They don't have almost any rights. They are being killed, laminated for the easiest things, for the easiest reasons. They are being kidnapped. They are suffering a lot in different ways, and they are discriminated against from the Israeli police, the Israeli citizens. So I don't envy them, and I don't think I want to live or switch places with them. I live in Gaza. I witnessed the war, but the fact that anytime any police officer, like, or any armed civilian would drag my brother, kill him, this is just a different type of struggle and pain that I don't have the power to even deal with. So
Mhm.
no, they are facing a lot of like
Yeah.
horrific things.
If there is something if there's something you could say to the Hamas government in Gaza and also the Israelis, what would your message be to them?
So I don't think my message would be delivered like would be pointed towards the Israeli government because they want this. But like Hamas, at least, I would say that stop trapping us in the middle. We don't want to be a part of your whatever it is you're after.
Mm.
We just want to exist peacefully. We just want to live. And I don't think that you should represent us anymore. For the Israeli government, they know exactly what they're after. Like, they have been doing this for over 70 years. The fact that they maintain it up until now means that they are getting much more professional at it.
Mhm.
So even if I want to fight that, I couldn't because there are a lot of brainwashed people out there who has nothing to do with Israel or Palestine or have never even visited there, and they still have a strong opinion on that. So
Yeah.
I can't fight the whole system or the whole world, but I just want to fight. But I can fight for my family. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focusing on. I want to fight for them, and that's that.
Yeah, I completely understand and get that. I think that most people hearing you would as well. I want to say, yeah, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And please, if there's anything else that you want to talk about later on, feel free to come on. You're welcome anytime to come and talk about it. And I want to just, again, share the page that you have, the GoFundMe page. So here you can see, and let me just scroll through it to show everybody who's watching this. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, if you go on to the description of this episode, you will see the link to this. So this is the page. It's called Help May's Family to Survive the Deadly Gaza War. And May has a video over here talking about her brother who is at risk of having his leg amputated at this point. If he doesn't get medical supplies in time, or if he's not able to escape Gaza in time. So please do watch the video. She has screenshots of some of the conversations that she's had with her family, while they were there, when they did have contact. And again, she hasn't had contact with them for the last 3 weeks. There are no hospitals that are capable of providing the necessary care. So her brother is at risk, and there are pictures of some of the destruction that have happened there, and some pictures of her family as well. So the way to donate here, there is a goal to get them out of there or to get them help. You can share the page for other people who might be interested in help, or you can click the donate now button, and then it'll take you to a page where you can donate the amount that you want. And again, every little bit that you donate will help. So please do go over there and say it. And May, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or say in conclusion?
No, thank you all. If you are concerned to help by any means, please do. Your help means a lot. Thank you for having me here tonight, Ali. It means a lot. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming on. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram at Unlicensed Therapist Podcast for information, for clips and upcoming shows. And also we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all other podcast platforms. If you are listening to us there, please do give us a rating. When you do give us a rating, this episode will show up in front of more people, and more people will be able to hear it. And they'll be able to hear other episodes of this podcast as well. But thank you very much, everybody, for listening and for joining us. And again, links are in the description. You can help May out with their situation. And hopefully we'll have you back on, May, to talk more and to follow up on the situation soon. So thank you.